The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home from work, the kind of rain that blurs the city lights into hazy halos. I was tired, bone tired after a long day of meetings and deadlines at the architectural firm where I worked. My name is Michael, and I'm 44 years old. I was looking forward to a quiet evening with my wife, Amanda. We'd been married for 18 years, and while the spark wasn't always as bright as it once was, I still loved her deeply. Or at least I thought I did. Amanda was a vibrant, energetic woman, 41 years old, a graphic designer with a flair for color and a contagious laugh. Lately, though, the laugh had been less frequent, the energy replaced by a strange sort of detachment. I'd noticed it gradually over the past few months, subtle shifts in her behavior that I initially dismissed as stress or just a phase. She'd started working late more often, claiming deadlines at her new job were particularly demanding. She'd always been career-driven, so I didn't think much of it at first. Now, as I think back, I feel like I was a fool. As I pulled into our driveway in suburban Chicago, I noticed Amanda's car wasn't there. Probably still at work, I thought, trying to shake off the nagging feeling of unease that had been growing in my gut. I unlocked the door, the familiar click echoing in the empty house. I called out, "Honey, I'm home," but only silence answered. I shrugged off my coat and headed to the kitchen, figuring I'd start dinner. I opened the fridge, scanned the contents, and decided on pasta. As I reached for the ingredients, my eyes fell on a small, folded piece of paper stuck to the refrigerator door with a magnet. It was a note, written in Amanda's familiar handwriting. My heart skipped a beat as I unfolded it. "Michael," it read, "I need some time to think. I've gone to my sister's for a few days. Don't try to contact me." The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. Time to think. What did that even mean? We hadn't been fighting, hadn't had any major disagreements. Sure, things had been a little strained lately, but I chalked it up to the usual ups and downs of married life. Now this, I felt a wave of nausea wash over me and I sank into a chair, the note trembling in my hand. "Don't try to contact me." The coldness of that phrase sent a shiver down my spine. I tried to push down the rising panic. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe she really did just need some space. I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt, at least for now. I got up, finished making dinner though I barely touched it, and spent the rest of the evening watching TV, trying to distract myself from the gnawing anxiety that wouldn't let go. I tossed and turned in bed that night, sleep eluding me. My mind raced, replaying every conversation, every interaction with Amanda over the past few months, searching for clues, for signs that I had missed. I came up empty. She had been distant, yes, but I had attributed it to work stress. I had been so blind. The next few days were agonizing. I went to work, went through the motions, but my mind was always elsewhere, replaying scenarios, imagining possible explanations for Amanda's sudden departure. I resisted the urge to call her, respecting her request for space, but the silence was deafening. I reached out to her sister, Emily, pretending to be concerned about Amanda's well-being. "She's fine, Michael," Emily said, her voice tight. "She just needs some time." I could tell she was hiding something, but I didn't press. I didn't want to give away that I suspected something was wrong. On the third day, I couldn't take it anymore. The uncertainty was eating me alive. I decided to do something I probably shouldn't have. I decided to check Amanda's phone records. I knew her password, we had always shared everything, or so I thought, and I logged into our phone account online. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the call history, my eyes scanning the numbers. And then I saw it. A number I didn't recognize, repeated calls and texts, almost every day for the past 2 months. My heart pounded in my chest as I copied the number and ran it through a reverse lookup website. The results came back instantly. The number belonged to a Daniel Thompson. The name meant nothing to me. I searched for Daniel Thompson on social media and a profile popped up on LinkedIn. He was a colleague of Amanda's at her new job, a senior marketing manager. My blood ran cold as I clicked on his profile picture. He was handsome, charismatic, with a confident smile that made my stomach churn. I scrolled through his connections, and there he was, Amanda, my wife, smiling brightly, standing next to him in a group photo from a company event. A wave of nausea washed over me, stronger this time. I closed the laptop, my hands shaking uncontrollably. The pieces were starting to fall into place, and the picture they formed was shattering my world. I spent the next few hours in a daze, pacing the house, trying to make sense of what I had just discovered. Amanda, my wife, the woman I had loved and trusted for 18 years, was having an affair with this Daniel Thompson. The thought was unbearable, a knife twisting in my gut. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and utterly heartbroken. How could she do this to me? What had I done to deserve this? I replayed every interaction with Amanda over the past few months, searching for signs, for clues that I had missed. And this time I saw them. The late nights at work, the secretive phone calls, the sudden change in her perfume, the way she had stopped looking at me with that familiar spark in her eyes. I had been so blind, so trusting, so naive. As the initial shock began to wear off, anger started to simmer beneath the surface. How dare she betray me like this? How dare she lie to me, deceive me, and make me look like a fool? I felt a surge of rage, a desire to confront her, to demand an explanation, to scream and shout and break things. But I knew that wouldn't solve anything. I needed to stay calm, to think clearly, to figure out what to do next. I decided to wait for her to come home, to confront her face to face. I wanted to see the look on her face when I told her I knew the truth. The next day I went to work, but I couldn't focus. My mind was consumed by thoughts of Amanda and Daniel, imagining them together, picturing their affair in vivid detail. I felt sick to my stomach. I left work early, telling my boss I wasn't feeling well. I drove home, my hands gripping the steering wheel, my jaw clenched tight. I walked into the house, the silence amplifying my anger and pain. I sat down on the couch, waiting for Amanda to return. Hours passed and the sun began to set. Finally, I heard the sound of a car pulling into the driveway. My heart pounded in my chest as I stood up, my fists clenched. I walked to the door, my eyes fixed on Amanda as she unlocked it and stepped inside. She looked surprised to see me. "Michael," she said, her voice hesitant. "What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same question," I replied, my voice cold and hard. She frowned. "What do you mean?" "I know about Daniel," I said, watching her face for a reaction. Her eyes widened and her face paled. "Daniel," she stammered. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me, Amanda," I said, my voice rising. "I've seen the phone records. I know you've been having an affair with him for months." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Michael, how could you do this to me?" I interrupted, my voice cracking with emotion. "How could you betray me like this, after all these years?" She started to cry, the tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, Michael," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to happen, it just happened." "It just happened," I repeated, my voice laced with sarcasm. "You just happened to fall into bed with another man. You just happened to lie to me, deceive me, and break my heart." She didn't answer, her head bowed in shame. "Why, Amanda?" I asked, my voice softer now, filled with pain. "Why did you do it? What did I do wrong?" "It's not you, Michael," she said, her voice muffled by tears. "It's me. I've been feeling empty lately, like something was missing. Daniel, he made me feel alive again. He made me feel wanted. So, you decided to throw away 18 years of marriage for a cheap thrill?" I asked, my voice filled with disbelief. "Is that what I'm hearing?" She didn't answer, her silence confirming my worst fears. I stared at her, my heart aching with a pain I had never known before. I had loved this woman, had dedicated my life to her, and she had repaid me with betrayal and lies. I felt like everything I had believed in, everything I had worked for, had been shattered into a million pieces. "I want you to leave," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I want you out of my house, out of my life." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with shock. "Michael, please," she begged. "Don't do this. We can work through this. We can go to counseling." "It's too late, Amanda," I said, shaking my head. "You've broken my trust, and I don't think I can ever forgive you. I want a divorce." She started to cry again, begging me to reconsider, promising to end the affair, to do whatever it took to save our marriage. But I had made up my mind. I couldn't stay with her, not after what she had done. The thought of sharing my life with someone who had so callously betrayed me was unbearable. I told her to pack her things and leave. She refused at first, but I stood firm, my resolve unwavering. Finally, she relented, her shoulders slumped in defeat. She went upstairs, packed a suitcase, and walked out the door without looking back. I watched her go, my heart heavy with grief and anger. As the taillights of her car disappeared down the street, I felt a strange sense of relief wash over me. It was over. The lies, the deceit, the betrayal, it was all over. I was free. but I was also alone, facing a future I had never imagined. The next few months were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and court appearances. The divorce was messy, contentious, and emotionally draining. Amanda fought me every step of the way, trying to get as much as she could. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted to be done with her, to put this nightmare behind me. Finally, the divorce was finalized. I was officially single again, free to start over. But starting over was easier said than done. I was still reeling from the betrayal, still struggling to come to terms with what had happened. I felt like a part of me had died, a part of me that I would never get back. I threw myself into my work, spending long hours at the office, trying to distract myself from the pain. I avoided social gatherings, afraid of running into Amanda or Daniel. I felt like everyone was judging me, whispering behind my back, pitying me for being the cuckold. One day, a few months after the divorce, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated before answering it, my heart pounding in my chest. "Hello," I said, my voice cautious. "Michael," a voice said on the other end. It was a woman's voice, but I didn't recognize it. "Yes, this is Michael," I replied. "Who is this?" "My name is Jessica," the woman said. "I'm a friend of Daniel Thompson." My blood ran cold. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice hardening. "I need to talk to you about Amanda," Jessica said. "It's important." I hesitated for a moment, then agreed to meet her. We met at a coffee shop a few days later. Jessica was a petite woman with short, dark hair and piercing blue eyes. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her hands as she spoke. "I know this is going to be difficult to hear," she said, "but I think you deserve to know the truth about Amanda and Daniel." I leaned forward, my heart pounding in my chest. "What do you mean?" I asked. "Their affair, it wasn't just a fling," Jessica said. "It was planned from the beginning." I stared at her, my mind reeling. "Planned," I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. "What are you talking about?" "Daniel, he's a con artist," Jessica said. "He targets wealthy women, seduces them, and then bleeds them dry. He's done it before, and Amanda was his latest target." I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. "Are you saying Amanda didn't love him?" I asked, my voice trembling. "No," Jessica said. "She was just a pawn in his game. He manipulated her, flattered her, and convinced her that you were holding her back. He promised her a better life, a life of luxury and excitement. But why?" I asked, my mind struggling to comprehend what I was hearing. "What did he get out of it?" "Your money," Jessica said. "He wanted your money. He convinced Amanda to divorce you so that he could get his hands on your assets. He even encouraged her to fight you in the divorce, to drag things out as long as possible so that he could rack up legal fees and bleed you dry." I sat back in my chair, stunned. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Amanda, the woman I had loved and trusted, had been manipulated by this con artist into destroying our marriage and stealing my money. "Do you know all this?" I asked Jessica. She hesitated for a moment, then sighed. "I used to be involved with Daniel," she said. "I was one of his victims. I only realized what he was doing after he had already taken everything from me. I've been trying to warn other women ever since." "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Why didn't you come forward sooner?" "I was afraid," Jessica said. "Daniel is a dangerous man. He has connections, and he's not afraid to use them. I didn't want to put myself at risk. But when I saw what he was doing to Amanda, I couldn't stay silent any longer. You deserve to know the truth." I thanked Jessica for her courage and promised to be careful. After she left, I sat there for a long time, trying to process everything I had just learned. I felt a mixture of anger, betrayal, and a strange sense of vindication. Amanda had betrayed me, yes, but she had also been a victim herself, manipulated by a ruthless con artist. I decided to confront Amanda with what I had learned. I called her and asked her to meet me. She was hesitant at first, but I insisted. We met at a park near our old house. "I know about Daniel," I said, my voice cold and hard. Amanda's face paled. "What do you mean?" she stammered. "I know he's a con artist," I said. "I know he manipulated you into divorcing me so that he could steal my money." Amanda started to cry, the tears streaming down her face. "It's not true, Michael," she sobbed. "You're lying." "I'm not lying, Amanda," I said. "I spoke to Jessica. She told me everything." Amanda broke down, confessing everything. She admitted that Daniel had manipulated her, promising her a better life, a life of luxury and excitement. She admitted that she had been a fool, blinded by his charm and lies. She begged me to forgive her, promising to leave Daniel and make amends for what she had done. I listened to her confession, my heart filled with a mixture of pity and disgust. I couldn't forgive her, not completely, but I understood her now. She had been a victim just like me. I told her that I couldn't be with her, not after everything that had happened, but that I would help her get away from Daniel. Together, we went to the police and reported Daniel's crimes. The police launched an investigation, and Daniel was eventually arrested and charged with fraud and embezzlement. Amanda testified against him, providing crucial evidence that helped to secure his conviction. He was sentenced to a long prison term. After Daniel was behind bars, Amanda tried to rebuild her life. She got a new job, went to therapy, and tried to make amends for her mistakes. I didn't stay in contact with her, but I heard through mutual friends that she was doing well. As for me, I slowly began to heal. I focused on my work, spent time with my friends and family, and started to explore new hobbies. I realized that I was stronger than I thought, that I could survive even the most devastating betrayal. I learned to trust again, to love again, but I also learned to be more cautious, to be more aware of the red flags, to protect myself from being hurt again. Years passed, and I eventually met someone new, a kind and compassionate woman named Sarah. We fell in love, got married, and built a happy and fulfilling life together. I never forgot about Amanda, but I learned to let go of the anger and resentment. I realized that holding onto those negative emotions was only hurting me. I chose to forgive her, not for her sake, but for my own. I wanted to be free of the past, to move on with my life, to embrace the future with hope and optimism. And that's exactly what I did. Life has a funny way of working out. What seems like the end of the world can often be the beginning of something new, something better. I learned that betrayal can be a painful and devastating experience, but it can also be an opportunity for growth and transformation. It can teach you valuable lessons about yourself, about others, and about the importance of forgiveness. And sometimes it can lead you to a place you never expected, a place of peace, happiness, and love.